we have a roll call of the officers, please?
Kowski.
Here.
Jackson.
Here.
Kimball.
Here.
Owen.
Here.
Deland. Lopers.
Here.
Riley.
Here.
All right, we have the agenda in front of us. Anyone have any changes, additions, corrections to that? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve as printed.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as printed.
We have motion by Treasurer Jackson. Do we have support?
I'll support that.
Support by Trustee Lokers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none, the motion carries. Moving on to the presentation of the minutes from the April 1st meeting. Any changes or corrections to that? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as published.
So move.
Motion by Trustee Riley. Do we have support?
I'll support that.
Support by Trustee Lokers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. That motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda and communications. We have disbursements totaling $119,134.73. Questions, comments on any of those?
I have a question about, it's page 9. So we got Veronica Ruck and then Two Crazy Girls. Is that for monthly cleaning or weekly? Would that be monthly?
Monthly is, they are both for monthly, yes.
One is for the library, one is for this office.
Veronica Ruck is the library.
So the township office seems a lot bigger than the library.
They go in there 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay. The office people at the library, they can't clean while they're at the library? I mean, we're paying.
We're not paying, by the way, we're not paying for that. We have a contract with the library.
Oh, okay.
They actually pay for that, so we bill them monthly for expenditures that they're responsible for.
Sure.
That is one of the responsibilities that they have, so they are paying us for that
Okay.
cleanup.
Sure. All right, thanks.
They chose the cleaner. I think now there's an opportunity where we can have some say in that now. In the past, they've always chosen who they had clean the office, so. Okay, any other questions? All right, do we have a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve of the consent agenda and communications in the amount of $119,134.73 and pay the bills and file.
All right, we have a motion by Treasurer Jackson. Do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by Trustee Bowen. Any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Jackson.
Yes.
Owen.
Yes.
Kowski.
Yes.
Kimball.
Yes.
Lopers.
Yes.
And Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, moving on to boards and commissions. We have the County Road Commission from 3/18 and the Township Roads and Bridges Advisory Committee from January 14th. Questions on any of those comments? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to receive and file.
I'll support that.
You want to make the motion? I'm not making, you want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to support
Alright.
the minutes from the road commission meeting on January 14th.
All right, motion by Trustee Lokers. Do we have support?
Go ahead.
I'll support.
Trustee Bowen supports. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. That motion carries. Public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening?
Yes, we do. I can't read it, sorry.
I told you.
Who did say that?
Wasn't yours either.
Come on now.
That's where I'm supposed to be. or-
No, you just go right up to the microphone there.
Feel like the president.
You get a soapbox, John.
My gosh. All right. My name is John Talent, and I have a few questions, and maybe I can get an answer. It's been a lot of years since I was down to the township here and put in a request to when they were going to dredge our ditches. And at that time, I was told that there was a waiting list, that we'd be put on the list. Well, I don't know what happened to that list, but none of them ditches are draining, and we keep them clean to leaves the best we can. And that's a mosquito problem. And from where they put that roundabout on the corner of Allen, if that water is draining, then I'd like somebody to come to me and show me where. Because my neighbor to the right side of me, his front yard gets flooded every time the ditches, it rains and the ditches get full. I have walked up there and I do not see where there's any drain. There's a big sewer thing on the corner. But since they put that roundabout in there, all we're seeing is tons of rocks off to the side. So if there's some kind of a tube or something under there that the water's supposed to drain, it's not doing its job. Now that's gonna help to get some water out of our ditches. But the ditches have went so low, they're lower than what our culverts are. It's actually gotta come, you gotta have this much water in there in order to just start to go through. So meanwhile, all that water just lays there until it goes into the ground. That and our road. They have surface roads all the way around us. They got the overpass out now. But I walk that road about 4 or 5 times a week to walk on the trail. And that road is busted bad. It's broke on the sides. It's really bad out where the cars are flowing, you know, driving. When you come off the roundabout, I know that there was complaints turned in there. And it took, I'll bet it took a month or 2 before they actually came and put some fill into that. And the first 15 cars going through there knocked that right back out. To try to get around that, you gotta make sure there ain't a car coming the other way, because you're gonna be cutting it real close. This last summer, they did come around and they must have patched it a whole lot better, because it's holding now, that I know of anyway. But,
Okay, so we do have a 3-minute time limit. What was your address?
2608
2608
Allen Road.
Allen Road?
Yeah, because that road is, I remember one time, just once, that's been resurfaced. I've been there since '76. And they stone and tarred it, or tarred stone, is all they did to that road. Every one of these roundabouts, Wadham's Road did tons of projects over there. Allen Road was getting pounded. We had cement trucks running, dump trucks running. Even when they did our roundabout, they were coming from off of Griswold and coming up the backside with cement and with dirt, loads and loads of fill. Now all that weight, when the road was already a mess. But it just, I don't understand why that little stretch of road from the overpass to the roundabout, it's like nobody cares. There's gotta be a reason why that ain't been touched.
Okay. We're gonna talk about ditching in a little bit here, so I would encourage you to stick around. It'll
All right.
kind of give you some background on how the ditches work and what that process is like.
Is there a list that,
I
roads
keep a-
get put on to have
They-
that work done?
Roads do, yeah. Mhm.
All right,
So-
all right,
Okay.
well, that's all the complaints I got.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Dave? You're next.
Yeah, Dave Bowers, I live on the other side of John. I just confirm what he said, you know, the roads are a mess, I've lived there for years and years, and, I've never seen so much standing water. It's like the whole water table's higher now. It's terrible, because I've lived there for years, and the water just lays in the ditch, it doesn't do anything. The ditches are full of crap, the road itself is deteriorating, and an ambulance is going down there all the time. I don't know how they can keep control so bad. So it's definitely been neglected. That's about all I gotta say.
What is your address, sir?
2596.
2596? Thank you.
All right, any other public comment? All right, we'll move on to new business. Mr. Telto has asked us to bring up the brownfield. He's supposed to be here tonight. I just got a message from Neil that Mr. Telto's not gonna make it, and he's asked to be put on the agenda for next month, so.
I seen Jeff Frazier 3 days after the last meeting. I told him, I said, hey, was there supposed to be someone with that package? He's like, I told them to accompany the package to get questions answered, and he's like,
Yeah.
so,
All right.
yeah.
Let me see here, let me just turn this off here. We can turn it on. There we go. All right, Blue Water Audio Visual, audio video. I'm not sure who put that on there.
That was a Neil thing, that, I don't know why, I don't, it was for the conference room.
I know we were looking at that, but I don't think we're gonna spend that much money to. We got something that kinda works in there, but,
Yeah, it was.
it's not ideal. We did ask them to look into it, Blue Water Audio Video, but I
I
didn't,
think you just wanted to bring up the.
I don't think we need to bring it to the board. All right. So last meeting, we had some discussion about remote access of files, so we just developed a policy on that. That policy is on page 29. Basically, it's in relation to the security methodologies that we would want in place for anyone that's accessing those files, and then, this is out of order.
Page 28 for the files.
The resolution is on page 36 to support that who would have access to files outside of the office. So they kind of go hand in hand. Questions on the policy? All right, do we have a motion to adopt that policy?
I'll support that.
All right, I'll make the motion. Trustee Lokers, it's okay. I'll support the policy. Support. Any further discussion or questions? All right, roll call on that, please.
Guzekowski,
Yes.
Lopers,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
and Riley.
Did you say Riley?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Riley.
yes, that's okay. Yes.
All right, page 33 would be the phone system, kind of the same guidelines. You know, the biggest thing is you don't want a device out there that gets left on and someone can pick it up and then use it and potentially create some damage either to our systems or information or, and granted, it is all backed up, but you still don't want to go through any of that. So again, these are just security measures to put into place for people using the remote access policy. And then we designate who that is via a resolution. And that system works very well, by the way. I got 2 calls today. It has a separate ringtone, so I know that it's someone calling from the office, so I can answer it appropriately, not like I normally do. I could be more friendly, that sort of thing. So, and then if I call them back, if I'm not available, when I call them back, it calls back as if it's calling from the office, so they know that it's Kimball Township calling them back as well, which is nice, so. Questions on the policy on that? All right, do we have a motion to adopt the policy?
I'll make a motion that we accept resolution 2025-24.
I'll support that.
All right, we're one step ahead, but that's okay, we're still on the policy, we're just adopting the policy at this
I'll
point.
get it, Rob.
That's okay, I'm good. So we're adopting the policy, motion by trustee Lokers, we had support for that.
Yeah, I support it.
Any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Wilkers,
Yes.
Riley? Riley, Mr. Riley?
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Rubel?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, so now we adopt the resolutions, which will grant who has access to information outside of the office area. So this one is specifically related to data and systems. We have township supervisor, township clerk, township treasurer, fire chief, ordinance enforcer, township assessor, and DPW. So all of these people, for their various tasks, access various data outside the office. DPW, they're accessing Inframap and other things that have our mapping systems in it when they're in the field. Township assessor, when they're out in the field, they're doing mapping and other, well, not mapping, but sketching of properties and other things like that. Ordinance enforcer, same thing. Fire chief, they also have an iPad where they're pulling up information if they're going to a fire scene, and they need to know what's in a building. There's a right to know information in there, so when they get to the building, they know if there's hazardous materials and other things. Myself, I'm always answering questions outside of the office. I think the clerk and treasurer are too, so it would grant all of those people access to data outside of, again, providing that they follow the policy as far as data security. Any questions on resolution 25-23? All right, do we have a motion on that?
So that's, what'd we do? We did 25, 24, right?
No, we haven't done 20, we're coming back to that one. We did the, yeah. We adopted the policy, we haven't adopted the resolutions yet.
I make a motion to approve the Kimball Township Board Resolution number 2025-23.
All right, we have a motion, do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by trustee Bowen, any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Jackson?
Yes.
Bowen?
Yes.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
Rubel?
Yes.
Wilkers?
Yes.
And Riley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, then we have resolution 25-24, which authorizes the use of the phone system outside of the township office. Any questions on that one? All right, do we have a motion on 25-24?
I would make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-24.
All right, motion by trustee Bowen, do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by trustee Riley, any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Bowen?
Yes.
Riley?
Yes.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Rubel?
Yes.
And Wilkers?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, page 48 is a discussion on, because we had this question come up about healthcare benefits for the staff. So I went through all the ordinances, resolutions, and here they are. I've included a copy of them so that you could read them. The first option that was adopted was ordinance 140 back in November 5th, 1985. So all full-time employees got uniform healthcare coverage. Anyone that declined the coverage could take a stipend of 100% of the healthcare premium. Eligibility for that was determined by resolution. That was for full-time. Part-time employees may also receive health care benefits. Any employee having separate insurance may decline the township coverage and receive a stipend equal to 100% of their premium. And again, eligibility was determined by resolution. So at the same time, they adopted a resolution. It was Resolution 1119-85. All full-time employees were eligible by designation. The clerk was eligible by designation. Part-time employees are eligible for supplemental health care that included the treasurer, supervisor, and trustees. That stayed in effect until, well, the eligibility stayed in effect until 2007. But the ordinance got changed in 1993. So eligibility was classified as 40 hours full-time. The Affordable Care Act, by the way, has modified that. I put a note in there about that, so now it's 30 hours instead of 40. Waiver of coverage results in a 50% of the premium instead of 100%. And it establishes that as a pre-tax cafeteria plan. Now, we're not charging any premiums, so it doesn't really matter on that. And then the resolution, again, was all full-time employees are eligible, the clerk is eligible, and receives a $500 stipend if no insurance is taken. And it removed the supplemental insurance for treasurers, supervisors, and trustees. There is an issue with Resolution 2013-07 because the point of the resolution, just like the policies that we adopted a minute ago, are only supposed to determine eligibility. They're not supposed to determine amounts. So we allowed, by mistake, we should have changed the ordinance for this, but we determined that the clerk was eligible, but we changed the amount that they received to $500. And there was a reason for that related to clerk hand. I don't really want to get into all of that, but that should have modified the ordinance and not been done by resolution. So when Clerk Rubel came on, we followed the ordinance, which says that she would get 50% of the premium. And the resolution 2013-07 was stated she was eligible. So I realize there's some debate about that, but that's why it was done. So moving forward, if we want to change the parameters of what we're paying, it needs to be modified in the ordinance. And if we want to change who is eligible, it needs to be adopted by resolution. Questions on that? And they're easy to change. If we want to change them, we just modify. We do it all the time. Modify an ordinance, modify a resolution. When you modify an ordinance, typically you create an ordinance that supplements the existing ordinance. So it's not sounds like a difficult thing, but it's actually fairly easy. Questions on any of that? Thoughts, comments?
So now the current one is saying all full-time employees then, like the most
Yep.
recent.
Yeah,
So that means 30 hours or more.
correct. Yep,
So that means Michelle.
yep, yeah.
That means Emily.
That's correct.
That means Shelley. Tom.
Anyone that's 30 hours or more.
They all can receive a stipend.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. So that's a lot of stipends for not taking insurance.
Well, it saves us, if they're not taking insurance, it's saving us $7,000 a year. Because if they were taking insurance, it would cost $14,000. Emily doesn't have a choice. Tom doesn't have a choice. I don't think. I think the union requires that they take the insurance.
It does. So now they're no longer eligible for the stipend. So
Correct.
to me, that makes it a little bit like you can have it, you can't. I think it needs to be everyone gets it or no one gets it. I feel like that's fairness.
We negotiate a contract. I have nothing.
And I get that. I totally get that. But I think as far as the stipend, I don't think the stipend is going fairly. Because I don't think one person should be getting it, especially all this time.
Well, which part of the resolutions and ordinance don't you agree with? I mean, because they are it's right in the
I
resolution
agree with no
and ordinance.
stipend at all.
But
In
it's
my
in a
opinion,
resolution and it's in an ordinance.
can we
How can we
dissolve that?
You can bring it to the board and ask for a modification to the ordinance or to the resolution, either one. In this case, it would have to be an amendment to the ordinance.
I would be willing
But
to do that.
I don't think we can sit here and say that it's not fair if we've followed what has been in writing as far as an ordinance goes. I mean,
Okay, then that's fine, as that's how it was, but now, going forward, I feel that it's unfair and we shouldn't be continuing it.
what do you think is unfair about it, I guess is.
Well,
would be
all
my
this
question.
time, so all this time, has George been able to get this stipend? Because he's not gotten a stipend all this time.
Is George listed in the resolution as eligible?
That was
But-
taken out.
But why is he?
You weren't taken out.
Why was he not eligible? Why was only the clerk available to get a stipend when no one else was? That
I
is
don't
where
know.
I'm
You would
saying is
have to
not
look
fair.
at the resolution that we just discussed, which was adopted back in,
And also,
2007.
she's been changing the amount she's receiving, and it's not been brought back to the board to change that I've seen, that I've found documentation of. It's supposed to be changed when annually, which is what this stuff is saying, but she's having it changed without bringing it back to the board to change that. That is also not fair, that is not right.
What are you talking about changing?
But she's changing the stipend amount she's receiving. It's not remained constant.
Well, our health insurance costs don't remain constant.
Okay, but this says $500.
Okay, but again, that's because we made a change we include something in a resolution that should have been an ordinance change.
Okay, but still, she's increased past 500, am I right, for this year?
Yeah, based on the ordinance, that is correct. She gets 50%.
But this
of
board
these-
did not approve that, nor did the previous board. It
It's in
has
an
to be
ordinance.
approved by the board. It says that the board has to approve it
It's in an
annually.
ordinance. It's in an ordinance.
So
can't
if I
change an
worked here,
ordinance.
could I just go raise the amount that I get? Like, hey, I want more of a stipend now.
I can't change an ordinance. The ordinance says 50% of the premium. How can we change it?
But
We
it
can't
says
change that.
$500.
That's not in the ordinance. That's the problem. And I just explained that.
Okay,
Which is
well,
fine.
in my opinion, I don't think
Right.
anyone needs a stipend for not taking the insurance
Then we
because
need
she
to
is an
change.
elected official.
So I'll go back to it again, then we need to change either well, if you're saying two different things. You're saying you don't think anyone should get 50%. Because
I'm
there's other
thinking-
people that are impacted by this, by the way.
I know.
And it saves us probably $8,000 now, I think. $8,000 a year by them not taking insurance.
I mean, I just feel like it's all or nothing here, like everyone gets it or no one gets it. You can't pick and choose.
I guess I'm wondering who's picking and choosing.
I'm gonna get in here because I've got a lot of history in this township. And I've been here 2006 doing things for the township. And the reason that the clerk and the deputy clerk got the premiums or stipends, apparently, because I didn't find out until January, because they worked 40 hours. They were 40-hour employees, not like myself or the supervisor, or whatever, 20, 30 hours or whatever.
I would question that, George, because
But-
if,
but-
in the resolution, it
It's
designates the
there,
clerk.
it's there, is that, but that's why
It
it's
already,
in that
it already
res-
designates full-time, so why would you have to designate the clerk? And I'm not, I mean, we can do whatever you wanna do, but why would by the way, we weren't here, this was 2007, before any of us were even on the board, so, if the board had wanted just full-time, why didn't they, it already said full-time, so they added another line to designate the clerk. I don't know why they did that.
That's why, because they worked 40 hours.
But you wouldn't need to do that if they were full-time, right? So you've already designated that
Well, they-
full-time gets it. And then you also
They did-
designated the
They didn't
clerk.
have them in there at first, but that's why they got it. Bob Hand, to me, his was done right. He decided to just take the amount of money that its Medicare needed to have to be covered, which like my own is, between my wife and I, we pay $370 a month out of our Social Security checks. And I just, to me, if I saw this, I'd say, oh yeah, I'll keep the insurance I got so I can get more wage, which is what's here is a stipend. And that's the sad part about the whole thing. I ran for election here to help a township get straightened around, and you did the same thing. But now we're falling back into the same
Well, this has
regime
been
on some
in,
things.
this has been in existence since actually, it's been in existence since 1985, you guys, so this is not something that's new, all right? So, again, the solution to this, if you don't like the way it is, come back to the board, adopt a new resolution designating who's eligible, adopt a amendment to the ordinance that changes the parameters. All of that's possible. We don't have to sit here and argue about it, just bring it back to the board. Bring back an amendment.
We're at 30 hours instead of 40, as I'm listening to that.
Yeah, that's federal law now, so
Yeah,
that
so
we can't
that's-
change,
that's-
yeah.
should be changed probably at the time.
Yeah, we could change that in the
Same
ordinance to
time.
reflect that.
And the deputies were not offered it.
This is the
The
way
only
I'd like
reason
to.
that Christine got it
excuse
was
me.
because she was the bookkeeper.
This is the way it should be written up, and I was gonna do it. I was gonna do it, do the ordinance part and everything. It should only be what you have to pay extra for your outside insurance.
Well, she's not gonna agree with you on that. She doesn't think we should get anything, or that anyone should get anything
I
additional.
could agree with
so-
that.
Bob Hand did it the way it should have been done to me.
Okay,
The way it's working right now, I don't feel it's fair. You're giving it to one person out of everybody.
that's not true. I have another person that gets it.
Rob, if we change things, do we have to bring the union in? Because, I mean, we can't just make a decision.
Well, we
that's gonna-
can't change the union, so, we can't, we can't change that. We have an agreement with the union. So anything
Yeah.
we do only affects non-union. So, the union's already in an agreement that we can adopt whatever ordinance or resolution we want, but the bottom line is the union has an agreement, we have to abide by that.
And what is the whole of the staff one? I mean, we're making statements, but a lot of those, like you said, it's gonna affect a lot of people. What do those people think? I mean, I would like to hear their perspective. I'd like to get the whole staff here so we can discuss what is on the table and say, hey, what do you think?
But who is it gonna affect if the union employees can't take that stipend? Who is it affecting? DPW is union as well.
It would affect
Parks.
Parks, it would affect, the elected officials and the appointment.
Well, it wouldn't affect, no elected official is designated by resolution as eligible, other than the clerk, so it wouldn't,
That's where my
Not
all or
working.
nothing is. Why is one elected official receiving a stipend?
I'd go back
Like,
to the minutes from 2007, I can't, I really couldn't tell
that's just
you.
where I'm feeling that it's not fair.
I couldn't tell you, I wasn't here in
And I get that, but that's where
2007,
I'm
so-
feeling it's unfair.
I think, if I may, I think looking into like an FSA or an HSA, which is designated for healthcare, I don't know the cost of that actual, but that way the money is put into an account, can only be used for medical towards, premiums or towards healthcare. I think that would be.
I could agree with something like that, rather than just an
I
extra bonus
don't
and a
know
jump.
that we could do that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't, we use, the union insurance for all of our insurance, because it's far more reasonable than going out and getting insurance on the open market. Their pool of people is just enormous, so they're able to keep those costs down. I don't know that we would have enough to form a group outside of that, because we'd have to adopt our own healthcare plan that would include like the fire chief, parks guy, and any other people that we designate. I don't know if it financially is going to be worth.
Fire doesn't get insurance either?
No, fire absolutely gets insurance. He's a 30-plus hour employee, but he's not in the union. But I can't modify the union health insurance because I have a contract with the union. So the pool of people that are available to form a policy is incredibly limited, and it's probably gonna be extremely costly. But, we could, if that's we can go whatever route you want. Just bring it back. Again, we don't need to argue about it. If you're bringing a suggestion, and I've said this so many times before, and no one ever does it, so hopefully this time it'll change. If you don't like an ordinance, if you don't like a resolution, bring something back. And then we can vote on it. And if the board likes it, they'll vote in favor of it. If they don't, they'll vote against it.
Yeah,
Clear as
well, like I
mud?
say, the only thing, that argument I have is they get 50%, they used to get 100% of their premiums, and maybe they don't have to pay anything on their other insurance. And so you're giving them an increase in wages, more or less, by allowing them to be paid a stipend.
Depends on how you look at it, because you're also saving $8,000, because you're not paying the full cost of their insurance. Because if they wanted the insurance, you'd have to pay the full cost of their insurance, by law.
Shouldn't that stipend also be taxed by the government? Because
should. All money should be taxed.
That is for their tax consultants, that is not for the township, so. Any other discussion on that? All right, so let's move on to,
Before we
yep.
go any further, I think that's something we have to look at really close, because we're bouncing back and forth, we're not listening real close. But I know we settled, as far as I'm concerned, the union contract very well.
Mhm.
And, but we do have one employee that I'm concerned about, and he isn't saying too much right now. But I think that George made a decision. I know he voted against this way back with resolution amendment to the fringe benefits way back, what I'm looking at right now. And I think we have to, and I said this before about the increase to board members, not because I'm trying to get an extra dollar in my wallet, for God's sakes. But I think it's important that we take care of our employees, and that goes for the supervisor, the clerk, the treasurer, and the trustees. I think we have to, and I'm not talking about medical for us and that, but I think we have to look at the big picture of are we taking care of our employees properly? And people could say, well, you know, you got voted in, they knew what it was, et cetera. That's fine. But if George today, God willing, something happened to him, is somebody gonna come in and fill these jobs, and you're no different as a supervisor or the clerk, somebody gonna come in and sit in this job for that amount that you've got, because that's the way it was and the board voted it down years ago? I think we have to look at these things properly and take care of the employees. And I don't say anybody wants to get rich. I'm just saying that, for heaven's sakes, let's look at what people are being paid. And I'll use these examples, as I just said, with the supervisor, clerk, and we can sit here and debate back and forth about whether it's a fringe medical, or if it's a stipend, whatever. But we gotta come to some realistic number for these individuals to sit up here. I have been in contact with other, and have sat on other boards in the county and the township for Portland Township. And the county board I was on, nobody wants to be ridiculous, and I think if they were, I'd be the first one to stand up and say, you're being stupid by paying some wild figure. But I don't think we ought to just kind of roll on with the benefits. Well, it's okay for one or two, or not you, and you don't want it. I think we take care of our employees properly, and that's extremely important to me as a board member. And I'm not, if you want to rule me out, give it to everybody, that's fine. But I just think we're going back and forth about things, but I think we gotta sit down and say, okay, what are we gonna do to take care of, I'll pick on George for a minute and pick on Rob for a minute. What's your status? You got benefits where you work, or you might not have them. Let's look at the picture and take care of our board members properly.
Okay.
End of story.
We can, I can bring something back to the next meeting with that. We'll put a package of information together.
Okay.
That work? Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'd just like to see us do something. I don't wanna elaborate a lot.
Sure.
I don't think we ought to sit here and go back and forth and make one board member look a little ridiculous, and the other one says,
This
oh,
was
you know,
done
I.
before I came into
Huh?
office. This was done before I came into office.
You're
So-
darn right. I'm not saying anything against you. I'm just saying that we have to look at the big picture instead of, okay? End of story. I won't say no more.
Very good. Let's talk about rain.
Okay.
So, April 2nd, we received, I don't know what our actual total was, but it was somewhere around 2.5 inches of rain, so, that's pretty substantial. The Pine River overflowed, which is, in 25 years, it's only the third time I recall that ever happening, so there was a lot of water out there, so, in the morning, I had gone out with the road commission, we had talked about some things, and then around 4 o'clock, I went out again, because it had started raining, started noticing some flooding, started getting some phone calls, specifically related to ditches, so. So to start with, just for clarity, the purpose of a road ditch, anyone know what that is?
To drain the road.
To drain the road, exactly. So that is the purpose of the road ditch. By the way, the township does not own, nor can we work in the road ditch. That is a county right-of-way, and they do not permit us to do any work there. We get a permit every year, which Clerk Rubel brings to the board, that allows us permission to work in the ditch for our utilities, so water and sewer. That's the only time we can touch a ditch. So we can't take a backhoe out there and start moving dirt and other things. People have done that, and as soon as they do, the county road commission or the sheriff's department's out there to put a stop to it. So we would be included in that. We would not be allowed to do it. That said, the township is responsible for the financial piece of some of the road ditches, so this gets a little confusing, and I don't ever distinguish this when I'm talking to a resident, simply because I don't want to create confusion for them. There are local roads, there are county roads, and there are state highways. Lapierre's a state highway. County roads include, Lapeer roads, county roads include Wadums, Smiths Creek, and Griswold. So we have absolutely zero obligation on those roads to do anything related to ditches financially. However, if I do get a call from a resident in one of those areas, I do go out and I do contact the road commission and let them know that there's an issue. Culverts, that was a great point brought up by one of our residents tonight. Culverts are technically a responsibility of the homeowner. So you'll see culverts that'll heave, you'll see culverts that will, typically they heave, so they come up some. It's supposed to be the homeowner's responsibility to fix that. The county road commission has an enforcement bureau related to culverts, and they can go out and issue tickets and give warning letters and require that someone fix their culvert. The process for us when we get a complaint related to a ditch is I usually will go out and look at it. There was one area that was specifically bad on April 2nd that was at Richmond and Searles Road. Just a ton of water. What's weird is there's a huge drain there, so I'm not sure why the water wasn't flowing, but it was one of my first calls to the road commission, hey, this is really bad. There were other places that were bad. Ravenswood, for the first time I've ever seen on the paved part here between Wadums and Allen Road, it went over the road. I had never seen that before. However, when you go by there and look at the ditch that's on the north side, that water is just flying. So you gotta take all those things in consideration when we're doing these. So when we have a complaint, my first call is to the road commission. Hey, I've been out there, it looks like there's an issue here, can you guys come out and take a look? So what they do is they'll go out and they'll take a look. Now, keep in mind that a lot of the complaints we get are flooding on property, right? So Ravenswood is one of those. There's a guy with, on the north side of the road, his property sits really low and it floods his yard every time it rains. Well, his road sits, I mean, his house, his property is, you need some fill sand, dirt or something to bring it up because it's lower than the ditch. So, I mean, not naturally, it's just gonna flood. I give those to the road commission. The road commission then comes back to the township and says, hey, we can do the work, here's what needs to be done, here's a work order. And then we bring the work orders back to the township board for approval. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think we've ever turned down a work order related to ditches, to the best of my knowledge. Could have happened, but I don't recall it ever happening. So that's really how it works. I don't catch every single thing, so like Allen Road, I will go out there and take a look at that this week and see what needs to be done there. And then I'll contact the road commission, and then they can come out and take a look and see what needs to be done, whether it's just cleaned out or sometimes if we do a ditching project, the township will pay for culverts as well. So it just depends on what the need is. But we'll call the road commission and go out there and we'll take a look at it. And then they can make a determination on what can be done, and then they'll give us a work order. And like I said, to my knowledge, we've never turned one down, so.
Do we ever hear anything back?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we bring ditching projects to the board all the time, so, yeah. I will tell you, there's other issues out there. I had a lady call me on Griswold Road. Again, that's a county road, so we wouldn't do it, but I still went and looked at it. I drove by her house 3 times because I wasn't sure it was at the right house. She said, my property's flooding, I've got septic issues, I can't flush the toilets. And I went out there and looked, I didn't see any water in the front yard at all. So I wound up messaging her back, hey, I don't see it, I'm missing something here, is it in your backyard, what is it? So they had dug a swale, and I saw the swale there, but I didn't realize it, but the ditch was, the water in the ditch was running into the swale because they had dug the swale deeper than the ditch. Well, that's on you as a homeowner. However, I did still pass the information on to the road commission to take a look at it to see, what could be done, but questions on that? That's pretty much how the ditching works, so.
It's like the one that I called them on, I don't know if they've been there, I'm checking, but you got a county drain here, you got a residence culvert here, and another culvert here, and you got a 3-acre lake over here. The road ditch is full of water, so it's backing up, because those culverts are plugged and going into the field. And that happens every year, so. I tried to clean that culvert out, and the woman come out and asked me what you're trying to do. So I couldn't even get it open with running a rod through there, so.
It rained a lot, so, if the river's flooding, there's gonna be flooding, so. People usually call me and say there's water in my ditch, and I don't wanna be mean, but, sometimes I say that's kind of what the ditch is there for, it's there to collect the water. Certainly, we don't want it standing in there, we want it to move out of there, and there can be, things prohibiting it from moving out of there, so.
Way back when I was a kid, the welfare people, if you were on welfare, you had to come out and clean the brush out of the ditches. That was one thing that you had to do. And they would do our road and everything else. But now it's, and back then, the roads are better now than they've ever been. You had to leave your car on this side of a mud hole and go get somebody else on the other side to get you out. We don't have any of those situations right now, but it's just a lot of rain lately, and you have to put up with it. There used to be, they had every quarter of a mile, the county would dig a ditch back to a county drain off the road ditch. so it'll alleviate that. But those are all full now, full of trees and brush and stuff also. So water can go to the county drain, but it isn't gonna go there very fast. I've got two of those on my property. They take it back to the county drains.
All right, so any other things on ditches? All right, so we had an issue with sewer, and this was on Allen Road. Anytime you have rain, you're gonna have infiltration of water into a sewer system, so that's not uncommon at all. I tried to do some research to find out how much. They said anywhere from 2 times the amount of normal flow to 10 times the amount of normal flow. Our pumps ran about 3 times what they normally do with that rain on April 2nd. So, there's a lot of water that gets in. Back in 2009, I believe it was, we had some backups before the lift station on Allen Road on Broad Axe. And so we made a whole bunch of changes to the pump station there. We've done a whole bunch of things that have eliminated water that's coming into the system, everything from smoke testing, running cameras, sealing manhole covers, lifting manhole covers. Clearly that made a difference because our pumps didn't run nearly as much as I thought they were going to. So, but just to give you an idea of how a pump works, what you're seeing there on the left are 3 pumps. Those are 3 pumps that we have in the Allen Road lift station. There's a float there. You see it says a stop float. The second thing up is the lead float. So that well fills with stuff. Use that term carefully. Stuff. Usually not water, so usually it's sitting about where it's at right now. When we have heavy rains, it'll go up to what you see there is the lead float. That's when one of the pumps will kick on. Now they cycle, so it's not the same pump every time. So the electronics in the system allow for a different pump each time to start so that you're using different pumps each time. And that's what you want. I mean, you don't want one pump to wear out faster than another, so you rotate which one starts. As the level of stuff increases in that well, you'll get up to the lag float. That's when a second pump will kick in. So during the event on April 2nd, there were quite a few times where we had a second pump kick in. So that's where the depth of the water got deep enough that we needed another one to kick in. We never got to the second lag float. So there was never a point in time where all 3 pumps were running. Historically, years back, you go back 15 years, and we did have times where the 3rd pump would kick in, but with all the changes we've made, that's reduced that a whole lot. So we had some times where the lag flow kicked in. So the problem that we had were 2 residents on Allen Road. In your packet, I have I think I have a map. Yeah, there's a map on page 56. It's kind of odd because the sewer lift station is south of Dove and Ashley. These 2 houses were north of that, and there were about 30 houses in between there. So we had 30 houses that didn't back up, and then 2 that backed up north of the lift station, which is pretty odd. So our engineers are looking into that to see what could have caused that. We did find 2 people in that stretch that had removed sewer cleanout caps. Just to give you some perspective of how much water can come in when that happens, it can be anywhere from 300 to 600 gallons a minute. Depending on how deep the water is and how much head pressure there is. So that alone can cause some pretty serious issues. So we had 2 without. One, it looked like it had possibly broke at some point in time. The other one looked like it had been removed to drain water off their property. So, but those 2 alone could have created some of this issue. So we've asked the engineers, see, the float kicked in. You can see it went green, so hit the lead float, so one of the pumps kicked on there. So our engineers are looking to see if they can determine what happened. I do know that one of the houses, they did find the backflow preventer. Looks like it was defective, possibly they have, DPW took pictures of it. So that could have been the problem, is that the backflow preventer failed at that particular residence. So we're looking into that, see if we can make a determination of what happened. We can, to mitigate some of these issues, and I don't know if this would have helped, it may not have made any difference. We can work with the landfill. Their lagoons pump into our sewer system. On a normal day, they contribute about 45,000 gallons a day of leachate through our sewer system. When it rains, obviously, they're open lagoons, so they were putting through about 70,000 gallons. If we know there's a heavy wet weather event, we can call them. They will drain those ponds down pre-event, and then not release as much during the event. The pumps still have to run, but they wouldn't run as much. Again, I don't know if, I don't know that that would solve this particular issue, because it's kind of odd. But I wanted you to make you aware of it, just in case you hear anything about that. Questions on that?
I know on Range Road there by Risa, that pond was over Range Road. And it also, the water was above the sewer cleanouts. In that last rain.
Yeah. All right, any other questions, comments on that? All right, moving on to audience participation.
Barb Sherlock, 1935 Diddy Road. Let's talk water. Do you have any clout with the DNR at all?
Not so much with DNR.
I have the 202 drain in my back, in my pasture, runs right straight through. I drain water from English Road to my house, from Dunlap Road to my house, and from just west of Kimball, the old Kimball School, to my house. When it gets across Diddy Road, it becomes a DNR drain. The DNR, we had a willow tree fall over from sucking up so much water, and we wanted to cut it up, and the DNR came along and told us if we did, they would fine us, because that's their drain, and nobody, everything has to be natural. Okay, when it comes down past my house, and it gets down to cross Diddy Road again, it becomes a DNR drain again. And it's full of trees, it's got a barn that fell down in it.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
The water can't go anywhere. And the water, in the rain you were talking about, my animals, I live on a farm, and my animals could not get to my barn. The water was 500 feet wide.
Oh,
It went, my house sits up here, and it slopes down to the 202 drain, and then my property goes back up to a hill. The water was up to my fence and going up the hill in the back.
I will, I'll make some contacts.
It's
See what we can do about
terrible.
that. Okay.
In all my life, I never seen the water that high at her house.
Yeah.
I mean, my cows didn't know whether they should put life jackets on or, you know, what. They couldn't get to the barn.
All right, let me see what I can find out for you.
Okay.
All right.
What was your address again, please?
Pardon?
Your address?
1935 Diddy Road.
We have another break.
Okay.
Ray Campbell, I live at 299 Eileen. When we've been talking about the ditches, Rob, you always refer to the road commission
Mhm.
and the maintenance of it. Could you tell me how the drain commission, isn't the drain commission's responsibility to ensure we have, quote, drainage? So it's kind of, I don't, can you explain to me how that, one of those confusing things, the road commission does the work, but isn't the drain commission tasked with making sure property developments, they look at the plans all the time, right? And they
Correct.
approve them, and one of the things they're approving is drainage, correct?
They do look at drainage, yes.
Yeah, well, they're called drain commissions, so I hope they look at drainage.
Yeah, I mean, like.
But
you
how does that
take-
fit with how you're working with the road commission,
Yeah.
but where's the drain commission in all this?
So the drain commission has designated drains, so there's a drain map, that we have, and it's on their website. They have very specific drains that they are responsible for and that they maintain. Outside of that, they don't really do a whole lot, you know, so if you build a house out here on that side of Wadums, right, and it's not part of a development, you just build a house, it's your responsibility to make sure that you have everything set for drainage and things. You come into some of these other developments, those developments are required to have proper drainage, so whether it's, you know, what is Dollar Tree up here, they had to account for drainage, you know. These new residential developments, they'll have to account for drainage. But on an individual house where someone, and that's where we get a lot of complaints, by the way, is out on a dirt road where there's not really any development, you're just putting a house up, it's your responsibility to make sure that you have the proper drainage. So it's kind of a mixed bag of things, but the Drain Commission only maintains and takes care of designated drains. They
So
make
could
you
one of the
pay for
ditches
it.
that you're talking about be part of the drain commission potentially? Or-
They are sometimes, not
Okay.
always, right? So, and some of the road ditches drain into a county drain. However, the big thing about the difference between road funding and ditching and county drain maintenance is the county drain will basically look at their maintenance cost, if they're gonna do a drain clean out or something, and then they assess everybody.
I just, you
So a
never
ditching,
mentioned them,
we
I
just-
didn't know if they
yeah.
played into this. Seemed like they would have to
They
overlap
do
sometime.
some, but not a whole lot. Yeah. Good question. Anyone else? All right, so,
You know, Robert, I've also got the golf course over there on Flinchball. And when they open their reservoirs, look up, water's coming.
Hmm.
And it all comes right in my back
Interesting.
yard.
Rob, since this seems like a big issue, is this something residents can come together and file a grievance against the county for not actually following through with their obligation? Because everybody's paying property taxes. So at the end of the day, I mean, it'd be no different if I don't pay my bills. Somebody's gonna shut
Yeah.
me off. Can these residents file a grievance and tell the county, hey, if you don't start towing the line, we're gonna amend our taxes because you're not actually doing your job? I mean, that's the reality. If I
Yeah.
were to not follow through with my obligations, I get stipend. The county's not doing.
And I think it would have to be looked at on a
St.
case-by-case
Clair County
basis. I
Road
don't.
Commission are the only people I know that dig ditches out, which they did on Diddy Road 3 years ago,
Mhm. Yep.
and make the water run uphill. The culverts up here that dug the ditch down here. How is that water gonna get up there?
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have qualified operators.
Well, they shoot grade and do all those, we don't have anyone that does that, so I mean, they would definitely be the ones to do that. All
But
right,
I
so,
think if the DNR could take care of their part of the drain, we wouldn't have the problems we have with water.
all right, so we'll move on to officers' reports. I am gonna pull something up here if I can real quick to, my phone, see if I got it here. So the county and Eagle have come to an agreement on a consent judgment related to the landfill. I'll forward this all out to you so that you can have a copy of it. The County Board of Commissioners will be voting on the settlement related to the enforcement action that Eagle had to take with the landfill. As of right now, the county will be paying well, I say the county, but it's actually gonna be everyone in the county. It's gonna pay $163,700. $145,000 of that is a civil fine. $18,700 is for the state's cost of surveillance and enforcement. So taxpayers will be paying $163,700 for the failures at the landfill. There are some concerning things in, and I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing, so, I mean, I just got this like 5 minutes before we walked in here, so I was scrambling to kind of see what was going on. There are penalties for subsequent violations. However, and that's for a period of 4 years. However, the violations don't include 1901. 1901 is the odor violation. So how you exclude that from the consent order, I have no idea. But they excluded the odors from the consent agreement. This one will have mixed reaction, but they did not have any restrictions on the septage bioreactor functionality. So part of the problem was the injection of septage into the old parts of the landfill. And because the maintenance of that wasn't where it needed to be, we had some odor issues. But they're allowing for septage to continue in there. We're gonna try to schedule a town hall. I don't know how quickly we can get this together, but, and ask Eagle to come out, ask the county to come out, kinda like we did before. I don't know how quickly we could get a facility, or if we just use this one. We might be able to fit in here, I think, or no.
See if I'm getting the church.
Yeah, see what dates we could get, and I'll see when Eagle's available. But I think, it'd be nice to have a town hall where the community can come out, see what the consent agreement is, express concerns about it, if they have concerns about it, get the County Board of Commissioners input on it, and that sort of thing. So I will forward you all a copy of the consent agreement. I'll post it on our website as well for anyone that wants to see it. And then as soon as we have some information on a town hall, we'll post that as well.
Will there be opportunities to object to their findings? Because I mean, I think it's grossly unacceptable that the taxpayer should have to inherit a bill that maybe a few select individuals are responsible for. I mean, I'll bring up the meeting that we had at the Solitude Links. Steve Samasco, he made a statement that, the previous leadership made some decisions. Well, you were present. You were all present. There's only a few new members on that board of commissioners. So, I mean, all the taxpayers have to blunt the bill because a few people made bogus decisions. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, so this is one of the complexities that I talked about with the Eagle, and I expressed my concern at the time, is that I agree with enforcement action. If it's a private business, it's a whole lot different than if it's a county. So the people, specifically those around the landfill, they suffered because of the odors. Now they're gonna have to pay for that. So my thing with Eagle was, hey, don't do that, right? Don't have them suffer the consequences of the failures and then make them pay for it. And they said, well, we understand that, it's a county, we're kind of hoping to stay away from that, but clearly they didn't, so.
And they're fining them. What are they gonna do with that money?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's like the IRS,
Right.
we're gonna fine you interest rate because you didn't pay your taxes on time.
Right.
What does that have to do with you? So
I
you get
agree with
extra
that
money?
I agree with that in a, if it's private business, because how else are you gonna penalize private business, right? Other than fining them. But government, they can get penalized at the ballot box, which happened. So, I mean.
Sounds like it's gonna be happening a lot more.
You saw some changes there, and part of the reason was because of this situation. So, I don't know, I'm disappointed that I understand covering your costs, I don't understand the point of charging the additional fee, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but. So we'll schedule that, as soon as we get that scheduled, we'll let everyone know, and yes, we can express our,
I'm gonna bring that up at the county commissioner meeting next week.
all right. And that's all I got, clerk Rubel.
I'm gonna pass out, I do have the newsletter done, and it's going to the printer. Here's a copy for both of you. There you go. It's going to the printer tomorrow, so if you happen to find a mistake, please let me know. Jason, our DPW supervisor, he had 65 and a half hours left over in his vacation bank, and he'd like to roll it over again this year. This is something that he normally does. I just need the board approval in order to do it.
All right, do we have a motion to allow that?
I'll make a motion to roll over the 65 and a half hours that was left in his vacation bank.
All right, we have a motion, do we have support? I'll support that. Any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Rubel,
Yes?
Guzekowski,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Wilkers,
Yes.
and Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, last meeting, we approved 5 laptop computers for $4,629.95. We neglected to also approve the $1,500 for the workstation deployment, the labor part of it, and I just need to get that approved. There is money in the budget for that from the grant money that we had received.
All right, any questions on that? All right, do we have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the $1,500 for the workstation deployment for the VC3 computers for the elections.
No support that.
All right, we have a motion, we have support. Any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Rubel,
Yes?
Riley,
Yes.
Guzekowski,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
and Wilkers.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, on the newsletter should be going out in about 10 to 11 days. As soon as it goes out, Rob, can you put that on our website?
Yeah, I can put it out anytime you want me to.
Okay,
Yep.
I thought that would be nice. I received a letter from the St. Clair County Health Department in regards to the proposed solar energy and battery energy storage facility for the regulations. They're having a meeting down at the St. Clair County Administration Building tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock. Its proposed regulations seek to mitigate adverse health risks and dangers to the public health, is what they're gonna be going over. I just thought everybody would like to know.
Where's that at? Is that the county building?
At the County Administration Building, on the second floor. The DPW, were able to get community service workers last weekend, and they picked up many tires, and they also did some park cleanup. Is what and they also worked out at the cemetery. The spring cleanup is 17th of May. I do have a list here I need for people to sign up to help work it. I do have some community service workers coming this time, and we're all set with that.
What's that May date?
You're gonna be gone.
Oh, okay. Double checking.
We already had that discussion.
Okay. Darn vacations, you know?
So I do have a list if anybody, I've got Megan and myself are signed up, so if anybody else can, that would be great. I have 11 to 1 and 1 to 3 available. And that's all I have.
All right, Treasurer Jackson?
Okay, we got a packet going to USDA of the budget, how it finished, and the new one going there, plus all the other information that they want to have every year from A to Z. I don't know if they look at it all or not, but they get it. Anyway, as far as the bank accounts go, cash distribution is setting at $2,058,706 at 39 cents. Tax account still has $60,673.72. Some of that's delinquent personal property. Trust and agency has $59,922.51. That's the payroll account and the performance bond account, which means people have to pay money up on a project, and it stays there until the project gets completed, and then it gets paid back out. The utility account, which is the water and sewer account, $1,150,120.81. And we have 5 CDs. We have, I'm just gonna round them off. Huntington is sitting at $279,500. Chase at $250,000. Tri-County at $265,000. Adfia at $105,000. And North Star at $261,000. I'm gonna be bringing Chase's in because they sent me a letter today because we aren't adding any money to it. They're gonna give it the money to the state. That's how they operate, so I'll take care of that, bring that money back in. So, that's where we are, pretty much everything we got going on that end. Special assessment bills went out, which is just primarily Smiths Creek. We don't have any other ones now that are running in the township, so that's where we're at until some new ones come along. That's all I got for now.
All right, trustee Lokers?
It's not really related to the township, but I reached out to Dan Lauer's office and asked him if his political career functions in the same way as his wife's personal career in the city of Yale, how she embezzled a bunch of money. You know, so I just asked for a call back on clarification that he's not also running his campaign as he's running his household, so.
Interesting. Anything else, trustee Lokers?
That's it.
Trustee Bowen?
So we started Little League out at the park, and I noticed that the light behind the garage is leaning,
Yep.
like really
Yeah.
bad.
Yep.
So I just wanted to make sure that that gets taken care of. But that's it.
All right, trustee Riley?
Yeah, regarding that health department meeting, since I've been on the board, I don't recall anything. A lot of the townships north of us, Fort Gratiot, Birchville area, et cetera, have been, had that solar energy and battery energy information. They've had meetings and it's been up in the air. Looking at the pamphlet that was in my box regarding this meeting, I read through that, and have we had any contact from them with some kind of energy storage facility, regulations, buildings they want to put up? We had any of that?
We have not had anyone contact the township. We have had people that have contacted residential properties about it, though. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, after looking at that pamphlet that was sent out, yeah, I'm gonna try to make that tomorrow night. I got a conflict, but I'm gonna try to just so I can see what they're doing. But to me, we don't need anything like that in our township or our residents. I think reading through the information, it's not healthy, and it's certainly, and I don't care what the economics are for somebody that you put in there that you're gonna make sure that when that's finished at its life, you know, at end of life, they take the steel and they do things so that it isn't gonna cause health problems to our people. The people that are doing this right now, and I'd be one that would stand up and say, no, nobody is gonna be in charge of that 20 years from now or 10 years. They're gonna be either retired, dead, gone. They have somebody else filling in their spot, and maybe they got different thoughts than what these people had when they put these in. So I would hope that the county, this health administration meeting, I hope they really hammer that home, because we don't need that stuff screwing up our state and especially our county. So we gotta take care of our residents. For all of us in this room, probably won't be here when they wanna complete this, throwing it in the junkyard, as in our landfills, to poison our residents in our county. I think that in our township is most important to me right now, but I think it's, for them to put this meeting on, I think it's wonderful that they're hammering home what the health are. It's bad stuff.
Yeah, so our biggest challenge is, and for those of you that don't know, because you're new on the board, we're involved in a lawsuit with Foster and Swift, along with about 80 other municipalities. So the state of Michigan adopted legislation that basically gives the state complete control over that. It overrides our zoning completely. So even if we were to adopt an ordinance that says, hey, you can only have it, say, in industrial, the state of Michigan would come in and say, nope, they can have it wherever we decide they can have it. So a lot of battles still to be fought on that. The lawsuit that we're in is the interpretation of that particular legislation was very broad. So we're trying to restrict that. But it's a fight that has to be fought at the legislative level. We did try to, and I think many people here on the board were part of it. There was a organization that was trying to get it onto the ballot, but they did not meet the required number of signatures to get it on the ballot. I think had it gotten on the ballot, I think that legislation would have been overturned, but just couldn't get enough signatures to do it. So, and it's not a, the battles that we're fighting aren't really about the legitimacy or the efficacy of, wind and solar, which are, it's pretty known, if you do any research, that they're two of the worst efficient ways to try to generate energy. But these are simply the battles that we're fighting on the township level are specifically that they've overrode our zoning and taken away our ability to zone for these types of things. So, and some of the, I was very, very active in contacting legislators, and just some of the stupid responses I got back. It was just, the people that are involved in that are not educated in it, which is really unfortunate, because I think if they understood what zoning was about and why we have zoning, and just the responses I got back just made it very apparent that they're not in touch with what the whole purpose of zoning even is, so, but it's a battle that is muddied a little bit because of what happened in Fort Gratiot. So Fort Gratiot already had an ordinance prior to this legislation going into effect, and they violated their own ordinance. So their ordinance allowed for that type of development in certain areas, and they turned it down, so they got sued. So that created because of the timing of it, it created a lot of people going, see, this is, and it really had nothing to do with that. So that created a lot of confusion, but it's a pretty long battle to fight.
Well, the people in Lansing that are supporting this issue, maybe those people are looking at it for economic growth for
Sure.
them. Maybe we ought to vote those people out of office if they're that stupid.
Yeah. So the problem right now is that you've got and the thought, at least in talking to some legislators, is that even if they got something through that reversed all of this, it's likely to get vetoed at the governor's office. So, if you want changes, you got to vote for changes.
And one thing, I know I've mentioned this before, I go up to Greenwood Energy Center here, up that way to count deer, and they're clearing some more land again. And so if it fails with the farmers, DTE is gonna pick that whole area up there panels, I'll tell you that right now. Because that's what they got in mind.
So if you want to talk irony, the state of Michigan has signed a contract for 400 acres of forested land to be deforested and put up solar panels. That's really going green, so that's just it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever, so. All right, Trustee Riley, you got anything else for us? You're all good there, Trustee
No,
Riley?
I think
All right.
I'm set for the night, so.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll support that.
All right, any
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:55. Thank you.
Trustee Locust, you want to support that?
I'll support that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none, we are adjourned.
Wouldn't you know it?
So,
Dan
we
Lauer's
didn't bring this up,
land, he's
but this is okay.
way behind the whole story.
Oh, no, that's ditch, never mind. I did, never mind, I read it wrong.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because I was out with the ditch witch yesterday,
Oh, okay.
with the
Yeah.
piece of equipment.
Dan Lauer's
I
wife
gave you
works
all
in the
that
city of
information.
Yale.
Copies of it.
Yeah, he got caught with a bunch of. Oh, you know, we're gonna start investigating his two sons. That's what they like. He's a class act. Well,
What do I do with,
well, listen to
if
this.
they don't know if they're gonna,
Wouldn't you know this too, right? Guess who owns a bunch of land up in the fountain? And they're big supporters of solar. Dan Lauer's.
because I know that's where this is all coming from.
Look at Dan.
How many hours does she
But
work?
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, the judge sided with his
Yep,
wife.
she should get it.
She admitted to everything. He's like,
But it doesn't say in there the deputy.
hopefully that town blackballs it.
Okay, so Dave also is
I
entitled to
would
it.
take that DNR and just.
That's a bunch of garbage.
So when do you want me to start it? And wait till they
You wanna
do
tell me I
this?
can't do something, but
My
you don't do
house
it?
sits here,
Yeah, I looked at your house on map.
and I have a DNR drain that's right beside my yard.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Into the 202 drain.
Okay, so do I do?
So do we need to hire somebody and send them a bill?
Okay.
Do
Oh,
your
they
job.
were nasty when they came out. Somebody called them,
That's the thing, you gotta start getting nasty with them.
All right.
and they said, we will fine you and fine you heavily.
Find them back. Get a lawyer.
And then, as the 202 drain, see, I drain all the way from the end of English Road.
It's a long ways.
Yeah, it is. And when they put 69 in, they rerouted so that they could get the road through. And so it comes down to Flinchball. And then the golf course, when their ponds start overflowing, they open their reservoirs, and that goes in there.
What a mess.
Oh, you ain't just a kid. And then I drain from Dunlap Road to my house, and it all meets right here.
So the DNR drain is on your land.
Yes.
I'd be sending them a bill. You owe me property